Last episode, Eve interviewed the sex goddess, Taylor Sparks, and she spoke to her about curating a collection of sex toys that you can now find on pleaseme.online. Be sure to check it out and learn what turns both Eve and Taylor on, and go to pleaseme.online and buy yourself something naughty and nice. This podcast is intended for mature audiences. Eve is a licensed sexual health physical therapist on a mission to destigmatize conversations about sex. Please sit back and surrender to the pleasure of Please Me. Looking for the best live streaming or podcast recording site? Look no further than StreamYard. Get $10 off your first purchase. For podcast hosting, Buzzsprout is the absolute best option out there. Get $20 off your first purchase. Who's looking for a sexy date? STC.com is the premier ethically non-monogamous dating site that also houses a wealth of information regarding sexuality and sexual health. Join the Please Me Health Collective on STC.com and listen to Eve's free live webinars. Use code 37340 for a free trial membership. Maybe you are in the market for some sexy toys to add some spice to the bedroom. Check out the Organic Lovin' link for the best online store for sex toys, lubes, and more. Are you in menopause, perimenopause, or postmenopause? I have found the absolute best products called Parlor Games. I use the estriol and progesterone topical creams, and they have been game changers. Maybe you've listened to the show and want to be featured as a guest. Eve uses Podmatch to connect with new or potential guests. Reach out and begin the process today. Have any questions? Feel free to call me on the OWL app. Use code EH576472 for $10 free to be used on the best networking app around. Give me a call. If you're experiencing sexual issues and need a physical therapy consultation or appointment, reach out to Eve and make an appointment on pleaseme.online. See all links and info in the show notes. Hello and welcome to Please Me, the podcast that aims to destigmatize conversations about sex by turning the sheets into our classroom. I have an amazing guest today, and I cannot wait to introduce him to you. His name is EA, and he is a mental health counselor with a specialty in recovery from substance abuse and addiction. He is the host of the Affirmations for Recovery podcast and is a motivational speaker that travels the country bringing his message of hope for people who have suffered from addiction. So without further ado, I am going to bring on EA and welcome him to Please Me. Hello. Welcome.
Oh, MG, that introduction was like amazing. I feel like so honored and privileged to come back to the show. Yes.
Absolutely. Welcome back to Please Me. I'm so happy to have you. And I want to just dive right in with what you've been doing with your life and what, your mission. So let's talk about recovery. Recovery is not just for addicts, right? And I've heard you say this before. For me.
No, go ahead. I was going to say thank you, because that's mainly when I get introduced or when I get offered to come on people's podcasts or shows, and when they like, you want to talk about recovery, and I'd be like, sure. They'd be like, well, is it a substance or whatever? No, recovery is a mindset. It starts in the mind. It starts with how we process information. And for me, once you get a hold of that, then you can apply that to substances, you can apply that to trauma, you can apply that to drama, you can apply it to just about anything. If your mind is right, you're more apt to be closer to recovery. That makes sense.
Absolutely. And for me, what we talked about before, recovery for me was recovering from, a history of childhood sexual abuse. Yes. And so recovery is really, different for everybody, and healing is ongoing, as we talked about before. So in my experience, people numb themselves when they're using substances like alcohol or any kind of drug. People are using it to numb themselves from the emotional pain. Can you kind of go into that a little bit?
Yeah, that's so true. You know, there's actually a something within your body that's released. It's called dopamine, and your body naturally produces it. And when you entertain or when you indulge into drugs or alcohol, that's what gets triggered. That's what gets released when you're involved in substances. So the goal is, when you think about substance abuse and recovery, the goal is to help people, teach them how to get that same dopamine release without using illicit substances. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, interesting. So you're teaching them techniques in order to get that dopamine release, like naturally. And ding, 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 ding.
Yes.
Sex releases lots of feel-good chemicals in your body.
I'm telling you, more than you think. Actually, sex has a therapeutic value to it. I preach this to the people that I work with, like the community I work with, and I mainly talk to people that are married because I'm a religious. I'm not a religious person, but I'm very spiritual. So I do believe in a higher power. So I'm not gonna say just get out here and just have sex just because it's therapy and just do it because no. But if you are in a committed relationship of some sort in a marriage, I would say definitely sex therapy is some of the most awesome ways to release pressure, stress, and all that good stuff. Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. So do you do sex therapy as well?
No, but I'm definitely interested in learning how. I would like to learn. I need some tips, and that's how we met. Like we met at a pod fest, and her podcast, this Please Me, as you guys know, Please Me. That was so intriguing to me. I just had to get connected with her. Please Me, and she has a beautiful a smile and voice. Everything, she has everything that goes with it. So that's what got me here, and I'm hooked. I'm hooked now. I want to be on the show. I want to be I want to be everywhere.
Well, I'm certainly excited that you are wanting to, lock arms with me and move forward with this podcast and with other ventures. So definitely hoping that happens for us both, for sure. So I want to get into a little bit about PTSD because a lot of people think that it's what like the military, only military people suffer from PTSD, right? And that's not really the case. No. And I sometimes joke that I suffer from football PTSD because my ex-husband used to love to watch football. And so now the sound of the crowd when people are watching football just gives me this sensation of like, I have to get out of here. So I don't know if that's even a real thing, but I always say that I suffer from football PTSD. So never invite me to a Super Bowl party.
No, I would say, you got to be careful because words have power. Right?
Yes.
I'm a real believer. So I watch what I tell myself. And, there could be a fine line with what you just said as far as the football PTSD, because PTSD is very serious. Yes. It stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. That is a huge terminology, right? And we want to be careful when we use that because we don't want to associate like a football game with having post-traumatic because then what it does, just being funny, but it does take away from the people that are really suffering from PTSD. It kind of makes them, it makes them feel unheard because they feel like, okay, you putting football with what I'm going through? Okay, no, you can't put football I'm going through. A loud noise at football is not PTSD. It can never be associated. But I would never invite you to. I know better than I would never invite you to a Super Bowl party. Got it. Roger that.
Yeah, so I say that very jokingly, but it really does give me this feeling. But I absolutely agree with you that it is a very serious trauma. And, lots of people suffer from it in many different ways, not just the military, right? So can you give another example of like someone that suffers from PTSD?
Well, PTSD, again, it stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. And again, that's individualized. As a clinician, I don't tell who I don't tell people who what particular instance qualifies you to be considered to be PTSD, but
Right.
typically, serving in the wars, like armed forces, veterans, 100%, they fall under that category. And I also want to say people that served in gangs, like gang members, people that's watched people die, that shot at people. There's some post-traumatic stress disorder that goes along with that. People that abuse drugs, okay? That is post-traumatic stress disorder as well. I believe that addiction and mental health, they are synonymous. They're like brother and sister. They go so heavy together. That's why when I got my certifications and my licensing, I got them in both areas because you study both. So it made the most sense to get my practice in both lanes. Yeah.
Absolutely. And also probably police officers and, that have experienced traumatic experience.
Oh, yes. Police. I'm sorry. I forgot. You did ask a question. Police officers, doctors.
Okay, that's interesting. Interesting.
Counselors.
You know what? Now that you mentioned that, doctors, and during the pandemic, doctors were seeing their patients die at a rate unheard of before. Yes. And that really affected them in a lot of ways, doctors and nurses, the whole medical field, all of those first responders. So I could see that would be something also very traumatic.
Yes.
I'm curious, do you know anything about generational trauma? I had another guest on the show. Her name was Taylor Sparks in season 2. And we talked about the history of non-monogamy in the African-American community and how there's, behavioral epigenetics that comes into play because African-Americans were often forced to marry people, because of slavery, right? And then maybe they were taken from that plantation and pushed off to another one. So then they were forced to, have a relationship with other people. And so there's like a history of that in that community, which I thought was super interesting because I had never really thought about epigenetics as behavioral. I always thought of it as more of like a physical thing. So I'm curious to know if you know anything about generational trauma.
Well, I know a lot about generational trauma because, again, like mental health is the world's oldest pandemic. It's going to be here way after we're gone. It's been here before we got here, too. So my 50 cents on it is, trauma is trauma. There is no such thing as total healing from trauma. What I believe is we find tools that we use to help us persevere. And I believe that everything happened like prior to us. It's like what I call a generational problem. It's going to require a generational solution. So the things that we're doing now, even your beautiful podcast, the works that we do, the efforts that we do, our children's children is how we measure what we've done, the success of what we've done. I hope that makes sense to you because this is generational. Like it took 40, 50 years to get to this moment where we are right now. Like the things that happened prior to us, 50 years made up where we are right now. So it's going to take that same amount of measuring time for us. Even the tools that we're doing, like you're educating people on the things that you educate them about. And I'm doing the same. But to get those results that we want to see, we got to be looking at 50 plus years in order to get the results that we want to see. So that's what generational trauma means to me. It means that it takes generational solutions to combat generational problems.
I love that. And, I agree. I mean, things compound just like any other problem. And if one problem is not dealt with, it moves to the next person. And then if that person doesn't deal with it, it moves to the next person. And it just is ongoing through the generations. So, healing is very individual, but also it's helping to protect yourself and your potential family that comes from you, you know what I mean, in the future. So it's very powerful. It really is. I mean, when you really think about, the impact that one person's life can have on a generation.
Oh my God, it's very impactful. You know, who we are determines what our lineage, looks like and feels like. So I'm spending the rest of my days teaching recovery, because recovery is a mindset. I'll say that again and again, because the people that I serve, the people that I teach, we have to be reminded multiple times. You can't say things one time and think that they got it. You got to say it again and again and again, and then remind them, tell their friends too, because that's how we change the narrative and what's going on here. So I appreciate you having me on today, talking this recovery thing. I want to know how, like, sex, how do because like I teach recovery, and I say it all the time that sex could be a recovery tool, but I want you to help me explain that. How has sex been therapy for you? I mean, have you been able to use sex as a therapy for you, and how does that work?
Well, that's an interesting question. And, I had a guest on a few last season. His name was Edward Miskey. And he suffered from a very unusual form of cancer. And he used sex as a healing tool to get through that period of time. It was very, specific that he was using it to cope, as a coping mechanism. And he had, multiple partners during that time, but what he could do was control the sexual aspect of his life, because the medical aspect of his life was so out of control.
Wow.
And he had no idea how much longer he would even live, And so, to hold on to something that you can control was something that he found comfort in, and was able to use that as a coping mechanism. So I just want to put that out there too, because, sex is a wonderful, experience that two people have between themselves, and it can be
Or
a spiritual,
people.
I'm sorry?
I said,
or more, or more, for sure. More, it could be 1, 2, 3, it could be just one person too, right? You can self-love. And I always say to make sure that you self-love, right? Because self-love is so important for so many different reasons. But for me, my healing journey, went through many different phases. And now I, love to have sex because I love to connect with my partner. And it's a spiritual experience, and it's an expression of love. Yes. So when you can express that love with someone else, it does bring you to another level of consciousness. Yes. And so that's how I use sex in my personal life.
Hey, I'm a counselor, I'm a therapist, and I learn from people. And I learn from people. I believe us people that are in recovery, we learn from people that are in recovery. So I know that your journey is different than mine, or even from others, but you still have a journey, and I still learn from you. And I appreciate that, because sex is therapy. And I've been always saying it, and I didn't really understand how the dots connected. But meeting somebody that actually uses sex for therapy, OMG, you formulated it all in my head now. Now I see exactly how it works, and why it works.
Yes. And you mentioned, those feel-good chemicals, right? The serotonin and, all of the feel-good chemicals that are released, when you are, I don't know, taking drugs or whatever, right? It makes you feel like amazing, right?
Yes.
But then you get addicted to that amazing feeling.
Yes.
But sex is the same chemicals released in your body, and so that can be a way to teach people to release those chemicals naturally by self-pleasure or with a partner. But if you don't have a partner, don't be afraid to self-pleasure, because self-pleasure is so important. And for men, I like to tell, my clients that come to see me in my physical therapy practice that, for men, having an orgasm 22 times or more per month helps decrease the risk of prostate cancer. Did you know that?
Oh my God, I did not know that. You said 22 times. I'm writing this down.
22 times or more.
Okay, or more. Yes, I'm taking a mental note of that. I'm gonna make sure I remind my wife, I do not want prostate cancer. Okay, let's figure this out. Let's figure this out. If you can't help me, let me go figure it out. Okay? I need 22 times a month or better.
Or
Okay?
yes, exactly. And all you really need is this.
Yes. Hey, oral.
So never feel afraid to masturbate, because masturbation is actually really healthy. It's a way for women and for men to connect with their body, to understand what makes us feel good, and to be able to translate that information to our partner when we do have a sexual partner that we want to bring into our lives, right? So it's so important for women to self-pleasure, and for men also to train your body to be able to last longer when you're having a sexual experience, because most men
longer.
most men take about 5 to 7 minutes in coupled penetrative sex to reach climax, but for a woman it can take up to 25 minutes or more to reach climax in coupled penetrative sex. So it's very important to be able to express what you feel, express what makes you feel good, and share that with your partner so that both partners can get their needs met.
So I want to make sure I heard you correctly. It's the counselor coming out of me right now, right?
Yes.
So you said men are 6 to 7 minutes and they're done. And, I'm just
5 to 7 minutes. This is average, obviously.
Average,
some people can last much longer. Some people have the issue where they can't orgasm. They just go on and they can't orgasm. So there's like a lot of different nuances, obviously, but we're talking about like the average.
The general, right? And then you said women is 25 minutes. So women are 5 times the amount of a man.
Correct.
Ooh, that's dangerous, ladies. That is dangerous. Okay.
Which means that, there's a lot of preparation that needs to happen prior to actually having penetration to get the woman's body ready for penetration, right? Because, the penis, it gets filled with blood. And that's how you know that the man is ready, right? Yes. But for a woman, and some men, wake up that way. And so they didn't even do any work. They just woke up and boom, they're ready. You know what I
mean? Yes. Oh, we was dreaming. That's what it was, to sleep.
Maybe, or maybe it's just like physiological. Like this is what happens when you wake up in the morning, which I think it is, because there's a such thing called, quote unquote, morning wood. And a lot of times that's a very natural thing for men to have that experience. And if they don't, it can be a sign of erectile dysfunction. So you want to have morning wood, but it's very physiological. You just wake up that way, you're ready, right? But for a woman takes much more time to get ready for sex. And a woman's clitoris has to become engorged, just like a man's penis has to become engorged, right? And so we don't think about the clitoris as being synonymous with the penis, but it is. It's the same exact tissue. Developmentally, it's the exact same tissue, and it is more internal. A woman's clitoris is about the same size as a man's penis, but it's more internal, and not external. So we don't see as much of it, right? But women do need to get engorged. They need to get a hard on.
Yes.
To get ready for sex.
You're singing.
And a lot of times we skip over all of those steps. You know what I mean? And so that is very important.
And that's what your show is really about. Your show is really about making sure we skip no steps. And man, I'm learning. Even I'm a guest, but I'm still learning, and that's what I came to do. Man, you are amazing. I definitely appreciate you educating even me. Like, oh my gosh, I did not know about a lot of these things about women and the sexual aspects. And yes, women need to get a hard on too. Oh, MG, I'm just. Keep coming. I'm telling you, like you are. Keep coming. No, not really coming, but coming. Man, I don't know if I'm saying this right.
Oh, that's funny. Yes, sometimes those like double entendres are pretty hilarious. So I have a question for you now.
Okay.
So I know that you use music therapy, to help your clients in recovery. And I love to use music in the bedroom to set the mood, right? And, if ever you've been, getting it on, right? And the wrong song comes on.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I've had that happen personally, for sure.
Okay. So you know what I'm talking about. Music
Yes.
sets the mood, and it really can help you to get into the right mind space.
Yes.
How do you use music therapy to help your clients with recovery?
Well, it's the exact same thing. Like, music has a way of releasing dopamine, just like sex, just like alcohol and drugs. It's feel good music. Like, I really preach feel good music. I like music that empowers like people and myself. Like, similar to having sex, I like to be empowered with the music, while having sex. That music is, if it's played the right type of music, it can be empowering. You know what I'm saying? I like listening to music like, beat that pussy, beat that. No, I'm just playing. It felt like it was a good moment to say that, right? I had to say that. But no, I personally, I'm an R&B guy. I like soothing, calm, cool, collected music. Things that just, keeps the car driving like at a drive pace, not like fast. I don't like to go fast. I don't like to go too slow. I just like I like the music to, it's like it's the way I'm talking right now. Yes.
Yes.
That's what I like.
Nice and smooth.
Daddy wins the race. Yes. I'm like, yes, that's what I prefer. So that's what I teach. With addiction, the same. It's pretty much the same way. Like, music therapy. For me, I use it actually in my groups. Like, I play music in the midst of, like, when we're having a discussion, somebody might say something that triggers a song in my head, and I'll play a song that goes with it. And it has to be empowering. It has to match where we're going. It's not going to be like, fuck you and all these. It's not going to be the wrong music. It's always the good music. So yeah, that's how I use music therapy.
There's a time and place for all music, right? And, certain music can make you cringe. Like, for me, it's country music. It makes me cringe. I'm like, I don't want to listen to this. And some music can get you in the mood. What's that?
Not before intimacy with you, right? No country.
No, please, never country music. And R&B, I'm an R&B fan too. It's very like slow and sensual. A lot of times the words are about relationships and love. So yeah, absolutely. And empowering music can really help to, help you get over heartache, yes, or even addiction or whatever, yes, depending on the song. And I think that that's really amazing that you jump right in with music right when you feel like it's appropriate, because yes, when it's in the moment, I feel like that's when it's the most powerful.
Absolutely. That's for anything we do. And I use journaling. I'm an avid journaler. I talk to people about journaling. I have affirmations for recovery. This is what I put out to help people new to recovery, because people are always struggling when they start recovery. Like, oh my goodness, does this work? What's going to work? What doesn't work? And journaling is the epitome of recovery. Like, you have to learn how to write things down and live in that moment. Like, hold on, I'm pissed off right now. Write it down. It's good and it's healthy. It's very healthy to figure out where you're going. You know what I'm saying? And then the most powerful thing about journaling that I really love is the reflection process of it. Like, I remember, like, last year this time, I wrote something down. I was pissed off. I was angry. And time goes by, and then we look back and you're like, damn, I remember that. I remember being pissed off by X, Y, and Z. And then you couple that with what you use to get over it. Oh my God, that's recovery. That's recovery 101 right there.
And is that book that you're showing right now, is that your journal book? Is that the journal? That is the journal. So inside of it, does it have like questions that will trigger someone to sort of move through healing and all of that?
No, I thought it was easier because most of the people that I serve, I thought about, they were like me. They're a person like me. I had to keep it simple, very simple. I didn't want it to be very complicated. So what I do a word of the day. So what's today? Whatever day this is, let's just say day 11. Okay, let's just call it day 11. There's a word for day 11. My day 11 is denial. And it usually couples with the word for like that goes with substance abuse or an addiction, right? So denial. Don't even know that I am lying. That is the acronym for denial. And then the word of the day I would use with that, I would say living in my truth. No more denial. Again, remember, words have power. So as you're journaling, it's important to program yourself on things that you want to manifest. So for me, I'm living in my truth. Okay. I have to tell myself that. When I was new to recovery, I had to remind myself to live in my truth. Now it becomes natural because I've been doing it forever now. But that's what the purpose of this book is. It's about teaching people how to unlearn and relearn.
Yes. And then when you relearn, you learn it over and over again by repetition. And that's when it becomes part of your everyday life.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. That is amazing. Thank you for sharing a little bit of what was inside of the book, because I was curious. I didn't get to see it before we recorded today. So thank you also for filling in today, because this was a last minute find that we both connected for today. So I'm so excited that you were able to do that.
Well, you can find me anywhere, any and everywhere, but more intentionally. I don't know if you heard of this new app called OWL, OWWLL. I'm actually wearing the shirt today. It's a game changer, guys. It's for today's working entrepreneur. A lot of us have day jobs, night jobs, and we also do things on the side, right? So OWL, OWWLL, make sure you use her referral code that she just posted right here. Use that referral code as you download the app. Become part of our community. And yeah, that's how you can reach me. Call me on there, EA. The EA stands for every day, all day, because that's the kind of attitudes you got to have to do whatever it is you're doing. Okay. So that's me, right? And more intentionally, for people that bought my journal, and we do a work publication every morning. I do a live on Instagram at EA the Genius. And I go over the word just pretty much how we did today, talk about whatever the date is. And each month it's the same date. So it becomes a pattern. It becomes habit forming. So people that join us in month 1, and then by month 12, they should be little EA minions. They should know exactly what's going on. They should be very consistent, especially because I like to do journaling in the beginning of the day. It's the best practice. This is how you build healthy habits, by being consistent, forming new habits. It starts in the morning. Okay. If you really want to work, do it in the morning. Yes.
Do it in the morning, everyone. You heard him say, do it in the morning.
Do it in the morning, journal in the morning, and then do it again. Okay.
And then do it again.
Because we need 22 times. So journal, do it, journal. It's like a sandwich. Journal. Oh, no. Do it, journal, do it again. Okay. Like a sandwich.
That sounds like a lot of fun, that sandwich. So I'm going to try and do that a little bit more. I have to say that in the past, I've journaled a lot, but I haven't been journaling hardly at all recently. And I think it would really help me. So I'm going to take that tip.
Journal and do it, because you're like amazing in that. I've interviewed you before. I heard a little bit of your story. So I want to see you challenge yourself. I want you to journal. I want you to do it and journal at the same time. I want you to journal while doing it, and then come back and share it with us. I'm telling you.
I promise you that I can do a verbal journal, but I wouldn't be able to write at the same time. But I could definitely, do a recording that could, translate to a transcript, right? That's a possibility.
I'm telling you, I'm challenged. I want to see it. I'm an inquiring mind, and I want to know. Okay?
I bet you do.
I mean, I'm all ears and eyes and everything. Yes, ma'am. So
I bet you my boyfriend would definitely be on board for that. He would be adding to the dialogue, I'm sure.
I mean, I would. Hey, whatever the case may be, I'm interested in seeing it. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
I will keep you posted on that one. So I have a question.
Yep.
Definitely. So I have a question that I'm asking my guests now. This is season 3, and I want to know what tools you bring to the bedroom. And it doesn't have to be something physical, but just what tools do you bring to the bedroom to get yourself in the mood and ready to go?
Good question. I think that's a powerful question. For me, I believe sex is mental. It starts in the mind, like everything else. So if I got some good music, OMG, I love music. I'm a Brandy. Brandy is like my artist. That's my go-to artist. So if I'm doing anything crazy, I throw in some Brandy and look out. Whoever's look out. Okay. So the other tools I use, energy, because sex is energy. It's more energy than it is size and all that good stuff. So you got to be connected with somebody mentally. And, for me, I like to build the connection before I get in the bedroom. So by the time we get in the bedroom, it's more like just anticipation for both of us. So it's not a lot of tools needed. It's like, I build my tools throughout the relationship. So the bedroom is like not a bonus, but it's kind of like the look forward to. Like that's just like automatic. You know what I mean?
Right, the icing on the cake.
Icing on the cake. I think intimacy is all stimulated by, individuals, how they interact. And I believe that's done throughout the day. It's not just because I want to have sex and now I need to figure out how to stimulate your mind. No, I'm gonna stimulate your mind all day long. And then by the time I get you in the room,
I love that tool. Anticipation is a great tool, and not a lot of people think about that. But, sending little messages, or, when you're walking by in the kitchen, like giving a little like kiss on the back of the neck or whatever that may be to you, but building anticipation, and then maybe whispering, I want you later tonight, or something, that builds that anticipation. What's that?
Writing little love letters and just sticky notes and, in places, sending pictures throughout the day. These are all things that I should be doing more.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah, I'm telling myself, because I'm on this show now and I'm going to be able to watch this. I'm going to watch myself. And I'm just, I'm going to be telling myself, I'm going to be doing that kind of stuff more.
Yes. And, we can all improve in different areas, right? So
yes,
Wifey will thank me. I don't know her name, but Wifey will thank me.
Tea time. We call her Tea Time. And she's definitely going to thank you after she see me on this, because I'm doing better now.
Nice.
I'm fixed. Well, you fixed me today. Thank you.
I don't know about fixed, but you were already fixed. You were exactly who you were supposed to be when we started.
Right. You're right. Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. Eve, thank you for having me. And the sooner I can get back, the better.
Okay? Excellent. Thank you so much for being on the show today, EA. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. As a licensed physical therapist, I treat conditions such as pelvic floor conditions, sexual health conditions such as erectile dysfunction, decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness, incontinence, painful sex, and other related conditions of sexual health. And there is no shame in seeking help for sexual health as well. So if that is you and you feel like you need help in that area or in that arena, please reach out to me on pleaseme.online. It's very important. Don't put that off for yourself, because it is very important to heal from sexual health conditions as well. So once again, thank you so much for being on the show today. And until next time. Visit pleaseme.online to reach Eve, or for more information on products to increase blood flow and overall health, for her curated list of her favorite toys, and for swag that shows that you are a big fan. Please consider supporting the show.